To be a master at communicating, you also need experiences worth talking about. You have to live a life. You need a degree of wisdom, and wisdom doesn't always come with age, it comes with life lived. Everyone says I'm an amazing speaker, but we've all been speaking our whole lives. Most of you have been speaking, a lot of you have been speaking longer than me. So why am I better? What's the difference?
You know, while you're talking right now, it's just making me think. The way you talk, it's like really articulate. It's like really intriguing, and you're well informed on many different topics. So were you always like this, and like how did you build this?
So the way you speak, the way you articulate yourself, just literally
practice.
Like that.
But it's not, in fact, correction. It's not practice. It's feedback. A lot of people practice things all the time and stay terrible. I had a guy say to me, in the war room, we actually do this training. I train the guys in the war room how to speak better. And that's one of the best things you can learn in life. And that's one of the reasons the war room is so valuable, because at the war room events, we do specific training for this particular task. And the guy was saying about how his business has improved, how much more money he makes, and how much better he is with girls, and et cetera, et cetera. And I was saying, yeah, okay, fine. But the reason I speak so well is not because I'm practiced, because this man was older than me. It's like, you've been speaking longer than I have.
Yeah.
It's not practice, it's feedback. If you don't analyze what you've done, then you're not going to identify your mistakes and where you can improve. I will watch this podcast back 10 times, and I will realize all the times I stuttered, or all the times I had to repeat myself, or all the times I didn't use a word I was supposed to use. And that's why next time I do a podcast, I'll be better than even before. And that's also a lesson you can take and apply towards life. You can apply the feedback aspect towards life. Practice alone will not improve you. Practice is going to build habits. In fact, from fighting, I know this very well. If you allow a student to come and learn bad habits at the beginning, it's very hard to get out of them. This is why most people, when they talk on podcasts, are saying, I can't even listen to that shit. I'm like, you don't even speak English? Why are you sitting down? You don't speak English?
Why it's so hard to get your point across?
Well, if you can't get your point across compendiously and you can't articulate yourself in a concise manner, how do you expect other people to affiliate with your worldview? Or one of the superpowers of life is thinking something and making somebody else think the same.
Making someone else believe you.
Oh, sorry, police, lover boy. But sitting there and making somebody agree with you, or at least making them understand why you think how you think, is a superpower, surely.
Yeah.
And it's massively misunderstood and underrepresented and not used, and it's not practiced and it's not versed. And I think also, I'm actually kind of curious, I've thought about this myself, how useful it will be into the future when the AI comes along and controls us all. You know what my biggest fear of the machine minds are?
Go on.
My biggest fear is that people will be as smart as me. That would piss me off. I like being smarter than everyone. I don't want a bunch of people to have Google brains that are smarter than mine. I'm supposed to be the smartest guy in the room. That's going to annoy me. To be a master at communicating, you also need experiences worth talking about. You have to live a life. You need a degree of wisdom, and wisdom doesn't always come with age, it comes with life lived. I had a guy message me, this is a long time ago when I used to reply to my own emails, too big now, but he said, I don't have any stories, my life's boring. I said, bro, where do you live? He said, Madrid. I said, bro, ride the train from Madrid to St. Petersburg. Ride the train from Madrid to Vladivostok. Do the Trans-Siberian Railway. Costs you like $300. He goes, oh, but what if I get robbed? Exactly! That's exactly the point! What if you get robbed? Now you have a story. Maybe you'll die, maybe you won't. But you have a story. Don't bring your watch. Have you got a Rolex? No one wants to rob you anyway. Don't worry about it. You're a brokey. Get on the train. There has to be that degree of risk to even have a story, because when you have a story, then you can communicate the story. You can't be an empty vessel either. So when you say you're telling me how I build this 20-year-old into a super soldier. Yeah, he has to be a master communicator, but he also has to do things which are risky. Risk has value intrinsically linked to it, intrinsically. This is why people, when you do risky things, people want to hear the story. Your coolest stories involve risk. Something went wrong, this could have happened, I almost this, I made it out. Without these risks, you haven't got it. So I would say to the 20-year-old, do what I did, get in the cage, get in the ring. Knock someone out, get knocked out, train hard. Fighting will teach you everything you need to know about life. You'll learn everything about who you truly are. You'll learn if you're a coward or not. You'll learn everything about perseverance and hard work and dedication, everything about being underappreciated. You learn everything about fear. You learn all of it. You learn everything about people. You win a fight, check your phone. Lose a fight, check your phone. You learn all about people. You learn all about them. And there used to be for men like a rite of passage. In most societies, you had to go through something to become a man, from a boy to a man. But that thing was always difficult. It's always been difficult. Now you have to self-induce it, self-inflict it. But if you're going to be a boy and never bring on that self-inflicted rite of passage, how are you going to ever become a man? I know everything about everything because of my life. Yeah. It's been varied and it's been very difficult. And I'm perspicacious and I pay attention and I learn my lessons. And that's how I know everything about everything. I don't need to read books. Yeah. There's not a subject you can name right now where I don't know something about.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, you name it. The Korean War, anything. You name it, I know something about something. That's just what happens when you get to a certain level of intelligence, because you can apply scenarios and
patterns. It's all patterns.
It's all patterns, absolutely. And history may not repeat, but it certainly rhymes, and humanity all acts in a pretty similar way across all cultures. And once you get an X amount of knowledge in one place, you can basically apply it and extrapolate it out to anything. Most of you have been speaking a lot of you have been speaking longer than me. So why am I better? What's the difference?
You watch yourself. You just study.
I watch myself. Feedback. Study. If you don't study, you won't get better. I'll give you an example. I'm shit at chess compared to my dad. I hover between 1600 ELO when I'm really mad, like an idiot, and 1800 ELO in blitz. I play 3-minute blitz games. I've been between 1600 and 1800 ELO for about 8 years. Even though I play chess for about half an hour a day, I never get better. Why? Because I never analyze the games. When my dad would train me, we'd sit down and do the boring analysis. Why? What could you have done? It's the analyze, it's the feedback that makes you better. Why, as a fighter, if you just spar every day, will you never be good? Because you don't train. It's feedback that makes you good at things, not practice. You have to practice, then feedback, always. And communication is one of the most important things because it's something you do every single day, all of the time. If you're going to get good at one thing, you may as well get good at the thing you do most often. And you're all talking all the time. So you may as well get good at it. So you have to analyze yourself. That's the reason I said this and ah thing. To make it difficult for you, I understand it's nervous. I understand you're up here and you're talking in front of people and it's nerve-wracking. But you should be going through your life in general, catching yourself doing it and not allowing yourself to do it. Because that feedback, it won't take long. It'll take 3 months until you find a way to just stop saying it. And it's so unique that you don't realize how many people you're speaking to who do it until you stop. It's like saying, have you ever seen a red car and you drive down the road and every car's red? When I sit and listen to somebody, I'm literally listening to them thinking, fuck you know, you've been speaking your whole life. You're a dummy, right? Because I don't do it anymore. So it's a pet peeve of mine almost. But you have to self-analyze yourself all of the time. Don't allow yourself to get away with it when you're not in this environment. It sounds like a small thing, but I'm telling you, when you can compendiously, concisely explain your point of view, when you can do what I do, which is machine gun 5 points at once, especially in a debate, it's very hard to argue against me. If you give me a minute, I've made 5 points and linked it into 2 older points, and I've hinted at a future point. And now you have to counter that. And you're like, you're a misogynist. You can't argue with me. That's why the BBC got wrecked. So you have to be very good. If I was saying on my BBC interview, it would have been over. I could have said the same things with a couple ums and ahs. It would have been over. I'm the worst man in the world. So it's battle. It's war. So I want you to all become very, very good with your speech. Because it's an easy thing. It's not difficult. It's not fighting. You're not getting hit. Stop saying stop saying ah.
How do you structure it?
You need a pause to think. So what I will do is, I will either literally take a pause and stop. And a lot of that is body language to allow yourself to be given the time to do that. Or the second thing I'll do if I make a mistake is I'll repeat myself. So I'll say something like, there's an example. So I'll say. That sounds better than going, so I'll say, and I know English isn't always your first language. I know for some of you people, I'm not as hard because English isn't your first language. I completely get that. It's also the reason I refuse to speak another language because I speak English so well that I don't want to degrade. If you want to speak to me, you speak to me in my language. It's my battlefield. I win. But English is the language of the world, so you may as well get very, very good at it. And it will translate to all of your personal relationships. Your arguments will become shorter. You'll make more money. Everything is from communication. That's why I have a stick, and that's why I have a pet peeve for ums and ahs. Because it's the easiest way to just improve your overall status. Because you also come across extremely confident when you don't use and ah. You look like you know exactly what you're talking about when you don't use and ah. If I say what's 2 plus 2 and you go 4, you look dumb. If I say what's 2 plus 2 and you go 4, you look smart. The makes you look like an idiot. So it's a pet peeve of mine. I just said it's twice. I just did it. So I'm self-analyzing myself all the time to make sure I don't do that. Yeah, being able to speak is a massively misunderstood superpower that a lot of people need to understand that can drastically change their life. Not enough people look back on what they did and identify where they made a mistake. And some people will do it when they lose, but the true professionals do it when they win. When my dad was playing a chess game, if he won the game, he would still analyze the game and see if he could have lost, where it could have gone wrong, how he could have won faster, what mistakes he did make, what he did well, what he did wrong, win or lose.